The Galactic Council convened in the opulent spires of the Andromeda Assembly, their luminescent halls echoing with the chatter of hundreds of alien delegates who considered themselves the apex of intelligence, culture, and military power, and when a matter of Earth arose, their consensus was unanimous and dismissive. The humans were a primitive species, technologically inferior, politically fragmented, and militarily insignificant, a planet more suited for observation and occasional trade than for negotiation or alliance, and so they issued the Council's verdict with an air of condescension, declaring that humanity would be allowed to continue its development under supervision, but any further attempt at interstellar influence would be met with strict sanctions. And the humans, at that moment, were entirely unaware of the storm that had been quietly gathering on their world. Where scientists and engineers had labored in secret, military strategists had recalibrated doctrine, and political leaders had maneuvered to unify the planet in unprecedented ways. While across the galaxy, the Council's members sipped their exotic nectars and laughed at reports of Earth's primitive spacecraft, their arrogance evident as they considered the humans incapable of posing a threat to any Council member. And yet back on Earth, the construction of the first unified planetary fleet had been underway for decades. Massive ships forged from materials previously thought impossible to harness, engines developed that surpassed even the most optimistic projections of Council technocrats, and weaponry that combined principles of quantum physics, directed energy, and kinetic annihilation in configurations that could obliterate capital ships in seconds, all designed under the careful guidance of a global coalition that had emerged quietly, gaining control over resources, science, and industry while the Council remained distracted by their own interstellar squabbles. And when the first vessel slipped the gravity wells of Earth, moving toward the outer reaches of the solar system at speeds the Council deemed improbable, humanity's collective resolve was encapsulated in every captain, engineer, and soldier aboard the fleet, each aware that the universe viewed them as insignificant, each driven by a burning need to prove that underestimation of the human species was the gravest error any civilization could make. And as the fleet traveled to the void, communications reached the Council reporting the existence of a massive formation moving into the fringe territories, at first dismissed as an exaggeration, then ignored as a statistical anomaly, and finally reported directly to the Council's high chamber, where alarms sounded and the delegates squabbled over the improbable numbers, the scale of the fleet, the speed at which it had mobilized, and the advanced technologies it carried. And yet even then disbelief remained, their species-wide arrogance blinding them to the very real threat approaching. And on the bridge of the lead human vessel, Admiral Nathaniel Brooks observed the deep expanse of space ahead, a calm resolve in his eyes as he ran simulations on the hollow console, confirming that the fleet's positioning, timing, and weapon readiness were flawless, while first contact protocols had been designed not to seek negotiation, but to command and respect humanity had been denied for decades, and the alien scouts sent to intercept them encountered instantaneous annihilation from point defense arrays that demonstrated human engineering was not only competent but superior, leaving debris fields as silent testaments to the fatal misjudgment of the Council, and panic began to ripple through chambers as reports flooded in, ambassadors and generals alike struggling to comprehend the efficiency, precision, and audacity of a species they had long ridiculed. And still, Earth's command maintained strategic discipline, knowing that true victory required patience, deception, and the calculated revelation of humanity's full capability. And as the fleet approached the first Council worlds, the alien defenses that had relied on numerical superiority and outdated assumptions collapsed with shocking speed. Entire armadas rendered immobile by simultaneous assaults, boarding operations, and electronic warfare that the Council had never imagined possible. And every defeat was compounded by the realization that humans not only matched their technology but had adapted it, optimized it, and deployed it in ways that violated every expectation. And with every destroyed ship, every reclaimed colony, every liberated system, humanity's legend grew in the eyes of the galaxy, a legend that would culminate not in conquest for conquest's sake, but in the irrevocable demonstration that underestimating humans was a catastrophic mistake, a lesson delivered with precision, discipline, and unyielding determination. And as the first Council members witnessed the obliteration of their proudest fleets, a silence fell upon the assembly, the once gleaming halls now heavy with disbelief, fear, and a dawning respect. And on Earth, messages of coordination, reassurance, and tactical updates flowed smoothly across the fleet, every human aware of the critical moment. Every decision weighed with the knowledge that the galaxy had laughed at them for centuries. And now the galaxy would see the true cost of that laughter as humanity, united, determined, and unstoppable, prepared to assert its place among the stars, not through arrogance, but through undeniable proof of their ingenuity, courage, and relentless spirit. The shock waves of humanity's fleet striking the outer systems of the Council's territory rippled across the galaxy, sending emissaries scrambling to assess the impossible reality, as entire star sectors that had relied on complacency and assumed superiority now found themselves stripped bare by human precision. Coordinated strikes that not only destroyed enemy vessels, but seized key strategic positions, depots, and communication hubs. And in every engagement, human crews displayed an uncanny ability to anticipate alien maneuvers, exploiting weaknesses in tactics that had been considered invincible for centuries. While back on Earth, Admiral Brooks and the Command Council monitored the unfolding chaos with meticulous attention, ensuring that every strike was not only decisive, but calculated to send a message to the Council and all observers that humanity would not be trifled with. And as reports of their devastating campaigns reached alien media, panic began to fracture long-standing alliances, entire factions questioning the wisdom of their leadership, and even those alien species previously known for ruthlessness and conquest hesitated, unsure how a so-called primitive species could wield such advanced power with near-perfect execution. While humanity's political leaders coordinated messages of restraint and purpose, broadcasting to galaxy that the campaign was not about vengeance, but about survival and establishing a seat of respect for Earth within, interstellar society, and still the humans advanced, using innovations in cloaking, hypernavigation, and coordinated swarm tactics that left the Council's analysts scrambling to produce any coherent response, while the alien generals, whose strategies had relied on overwhelming firepower, found themselves repeatedly outmaneuvered, their fleets annihilated not merely by brute force, but by the superior understanding of physics, human adaptability, and relentless persistence. And within Council chambers, debates devolved into chaos, accusations flying as the Council struggled to understand how a species they had observed for decades could exceed their wildest expectations in both technology and strategy. And as humanity reached the first capital world of the Council, the planet's orbital defenses were overwhelmed in a matter of hours, human boarding teams neutralizing command centers, commandeering ships, and securing critical systems, while Admiral Brooks ensured that casualties were minimized where possible, demonstrating that human victory was not indiscriminate slaughter, but precision, intelligence, and disciplined force, and each conquered system became a rallying point for other planets under Council control, as humans offered terms that emphasized fairness, cooperation, and mutual respect, a stark contrast to the Council's history of authoritarian dominance. And as the fleet pressed further into the heart of Council territory, alien leaders began to recognize the terrifying efficiency of humanity's logistics, coordination, and morale, forces that not only responded to threats with deadly accuracy, but anticipated them, preempted them, and leveraged psychological warfare in subtle ways that undermined the enemy before weapons were even fired. While back on Earth, scientists unveiled innovations that integrated artificial intelligence with human decision-making in unprecedented ways, creating operational algorithms that allowed ships to coordinate like a single organism across vast distances. And every new engagement validated the Council's growing dread, their once unshakable confidence eroded by the realization that humans were not only capable of fighting on equal footing, but had rewritten the rules of engagement entirely. And across the galaxy, whispers of Earth's fleet spread like wildfire, inspiring fear, awe, and even admiration in equal measure, as species who had long dismissed humanity now contemplated the catastrophic mistake of ignoring the human race. And as the first Council worlds fell under human control, the message was clear. Humanity was no longer a backwater planet to be observed and mocked, but a dominant power capable of reshaping the galactic order through ingenuity, discipline, and the unyielding determination that had been underestimated for far too long. And every victory, every liberated system, every demonstration of tactical genius reinforced a new reality, a reality in which the Council had to confront the fact that the humans they had dismissed as weak were now the architects of the galaxy's most formidable force, and as Admiral Brooks reviewed the next phase of operations, his calm demeanor belied the monumental task ahead, knowing that each engagement would test not only human resolve, but the very patience and restraint that had defined their campaign. For victory was not measured merely in destruction, but in proving to the galaxy that humanity's rise was deliberate, unassailable, and a reckoning for those who had ever doubted them. As humanity pushed deeper into Council territory, the sheer scale of their coordinated operations became increasingly evident, with fleets moving in perfect synchrony across multiple star systems, engaging enemy forces simultaneously, while maintaining supply lines that stretched light years yet never faltered, and the alien factions, long accustomed to dominance through numbers and hierarchy, found themselves confounded by the humans' decentralized decision-making, where captains, commanders, and even junior officers exercised initiative in ways that were both unpredictable and devastatingly effective. While back on Earth, scientists and engineers refined new propulsion systems that allowed rapid redeployment of forces across contested sectors, coupled with advanced shielding that absorbed energy previously thought destructive, and as the first Council worlds attempted to mount counteroffensives, they were met with humans who not only anticipated their attacks, but had already set traps, manipulated communication channels to sow confusion, and deployed decoy fleets that drew entire armadas into ambushes from which they could not escape. And each victory sent shockwaves through the Council's command structure, eroding the confidence of its delegates, generals, and field commanders who had prided themselves on invulnerability for millennia, while civilians and soldiers alike on conquered worlds watched in disbelief as humans offered not tyranny but structured governance, medical aid, and reconstruction, demonstrating an efficiency and honor alien species struggled to comprehend, and the psychological impact of this approach spread faster than any fleet, as fear of human retaliation was matched by grudging admiration for the discipline, ingenuity, and moral restraint humanity displayed even in moments of absolute power, while Admiral Brooks, coordinating the movements of hundreds of ships and millions of personnel, maintained a strategic vision that combined ruthless effectiveness with careful planning, ensuring that no victory became Pyrrhic, that every conquest strengthened humanity's position without unnecessary risk, and alien strategists, desperate to understand this unprecedented approach, poured resources into analysis, only to realize that human creativity, adaptability, and resilience were not only superior in battle, but fundamentally unquantifiable by any algorithm they possessed. And as the humans approached the Council's central systems, entire fleets that had once been considered elite were shattered in a matter of days, overwhelmed by multi-vector assaults, precision strikes, electronic warfare, and psychological operations that left commanders paralyzed with indecision, while on Earth, the political and scientific leadership continued to support the campaign, providing real-time intelligence, adaptive technologies, and strategic oversight, ensuring that every engagement reinforced humanity's legend and reshaped the expectations of interstellar conflict. And with each victory, communications from the Council grew frantic, delegations arguing, pointing fingers, and issuing desperate ultimatums, all of which were systematically ignored or countered by humans who understood that true power required patience, discipline, and the perfect timing of overwhelming force. And as the fleet moved into the heart of Council territory, previously minor systems offered critical support, joining the humans willingly after, witnessing the inevitability of their success, further expanding humanity's reach and influence, while alien worlds crumbled under the psychological and physical impact of their defeat. And in every engagement, human ingenuity, courage, and strategic brilliance shattered expectations, proving that the species once dismissed as primitive and inconsequential was now the unstoppable force that had rewritten the rules of galactic power. And with each passing day, the Council faced a horrifying reality that their centuries of arrogance, dismissal, and mockery had created a nemesis they had never anticipated, a species that combined discipline, morality, tactical genius, and relentless determination into a form of warfare that was both devastating and unassailable, leaving the galaxy to come to terms with the fact that humanity had arrived not only to fight, but to claim its place as a dominant and respected force among the stars, a force that would forever alter the balance of power, and force every civilization to reconsider the cost of underestimating Earth. Humanity's advance into the core systems of the Council sent shockwaves of panic through every Council chamber, as entire fleets were immobilized before they could respond, caught in a relentless combination of human ingenuity, rapid-fire strategic adaptation, and technologies the Council had assumed were centuries beyond Earth's capability. And every engagement revealed not only the superior firepower of humanity's fleet, but also the psychological mastery humans wielded, exploiting the overconfidence of alien commanders, predicting their movements, and striking with precision at the moments when hesitation could be fatal. While on Earth, scientists unveiled new offensive and defensive systems capable of operating across light years with near-instantaneous coordination, integrating artificial intelligence with human intuition in ways that left the Council's analysts scrambling to understand. And as humans liberated previously subjugated systems, the citizens of those worlds quickly aligned with Earth's forces, offering strategic knowledge, local fleets, and vital resources, which multiplied humanity's strength and created an ever-expanding network of support that the Council could neither suppress nor counter. And despite the Council's desperate attempts to form emergency coalitions, their combined forces crumbled under the relentless efficiency of human tactics, where each maneuver, strike, and deployment was meticulously calculated to maximize effect while minimizing risk. And aboard the lead human vessel, Admiral Brooks coordinated these vast operations with an almost preternatural understanding of interstellar combat, anticipating enemy reactions, exploiting weaknesses, and maintaining morale across millions of personnel, while ensuring that every conquest reinforced humanity's position without creating unnecessary resentment or rebellion. And as the fleet approached the Council's central command world, every alien leader realized that the humans were not merely executing a military campaign, but delivering a profound lesson in strategy, discipline, and determination, forcing the galaxy to confront the terrifying reality that the species they had mocked and dismissed for centuries was now a force capable of unifying entire regions, reshaping alliances, and defeating the most elite fleets with a combination of intellect, adaptability, and unyielding resolve. And while the alien generals debated their next moves, humans demonstrated operational brilliance by simultaneously securing critical jump points, neutralizing orbital defenses, and establishing command and communication hubs that allowed their forces to operate as a single, coordinated organism across hundreds of systems. And as the first Council worlds fell in rapid succession, the alien population, previously convinced of their invulnerability, faced not just physical defeat, but profound psychological shock as the supposed primitive humans displayed patience, foresight, and adaptability that no alien species had ever exhibited. And in every conquered system, humans implemented governance that combined fairness, efficiency, and strategic foresight, winning the support of local populations and solidifying control without the need for prolonged occupation. While the Council's high chamber descended into chaos, factions arguing, delegations breaking down, and leaders struggling to comprehend the scale of the human offensive. And as humanity pressed toward the Council's capital, the fleet employed advanced diversionary tactics, electronic countermeasures, and hyper-coordinated boarding operations that shattered any remaining hope of organized resistance, proving with each maneuver that human determination, ingenuity, and adaptability were not only superior but fundamentally unassailable. And across the galaxy, the legend of humanity's rise spread, instilling fear, respect, and awe in civilizations that had long considered Earth irrelevant. As Admiral Brooks prepared the final phases of the assault on the Council's capital world, every officer, soldier, and scientist understood that humanity was not merely fighting for victory, but for recognition, survival, and the undeniable truth that the galaxy had underestimated a species whose resolve, creativity, and unyielding spirit could not be matched. A species that would forever change the balance of power and ensure that no council, alien or otherwise, would ever again dismiss humanity as inconsequential. The approach to the Council's capital system was met with desperate resistance as alien forces, having finally recognized the magnitude of the threat, deployed everything at their disposal, entire fleets converging in a chaotic and poorly coordinated attempt to halt humanity's advance. And yet every maneuver by the Council only played into humans' hands, as decades of preparation, simulation, and strategy allowed Earth's commanders to anticipate alien tactics, countering with overwhelming precision and efficiency. While aboard the flagship, Admiral Brooks oversaw the coordination of hundreds of ships operating as a single integrated unit, their movements seamless, almost organic, capable of responding instantaneously to threats across light years. And as the first waves of boarding parties breached orbital defenses, Alien soldiers and leaders found themselves confronted by a force that combined superior technology with tactical genius and unwavering resolve. Humans who had been dismissed as primitive now moving with discipline, intelligence, and coordination that left the enemy unable to regroup, while Earth scientists had deployed advanced electronic warfare systems that disrupted alien communication networks, targeting sensors and control mechanisms, rendering even the most sophisticated fleets disoriented and vulnerable. And in the Council's chambers, delegates argued frantically, their voices rising in panic as reports of lost systems, destroyed ships, and compromised command centers filled the subspace channels, while humanity continued to press forward with methodical calm, offering terms to systems that surrendered while neutralizing resistance with minimal collateral damage, reinforcing both strategic control and a reputation for fairness that further undermined the Council's credibility. And every day, the legend of human adaptability, innovation, and courage grew as fleets executed daring maneuvers, boarding actions, and hyperspeed raids that left entire sectors in awe and terror, with alien species scrambling to reconcile the arrogance they had displayed for centuries with the devastating efficiency of Earth's forces. And as the humans approached the Council's primary orbital defense ring, the culmination of decades of planning, research, and coordinated global effort became undeniable, with multi-layered assaults combining energy weapons, kinetic projectiles, and electronic warfare systematically neutralizing defenses that had been considered impenetrable, while human boarding teams infiltrated command hubs, sabotaging systems and turning captured ships against their former masters, all executed with such precision that alien leaders struggled to comprehend the scale, speed, and intelligence behind every move. And as Admiral Brooks coordinated the final strike from the flagship's command deck, he understood that humanity's goal was not mere destruction, but demonstration, proving that years of dismissal, ridicule, and underestimation had produced a species capable of achieving the impossible. And as the first Council stronghold fell, alien populations witnessing the event for the first time began to understand a terrifying truth, that humanity was no longer a minor, primitive civilization, but the central force in a galactic upheaval, a species that had taken every underestimation and transformed it into strength, every mockery into innovation, and every doubt into absolute proof that humans could not only survive but dominate. And as reports of the capital's fall spread across the Council's territories, panic turned to despair. The alien delegates and generals, realizing that their assumptions about superiority, numbers, and tradition were irrelevant against a species that combined intellect, courage, ingenuity, and unity in a way the galaxy had never seen. While on Earth, celebrations were tempered by discipline, knowing that the campaign required focus and coordination until total strategic objectives were achieved. And across the galaxy, systems once complacent, once indifferent, now actively sought alignment with humanity, acknowledging that the era of underestimating Earth was over, and that the species which had been dismissed as inconsequential had arrived, unstoppable, meticulous, and determined to ensure that no council, no species, and no ideology could ever again assume humans would be ignored, underestimated, or defeated, a realization that would forever redefine interstellar power and leave an indelible mark on the history of the galaxy. As humanity solidified control over the Council's capital system, the full scale of their coordinated brilliance became undeniable, fleets moving with such precision across multiple fronts that even the most experienced alien commanders could only watch in disbelief, while on Earth, Admiral Brooks and the planetary leadership monitored the entire operation with painstaking attention, ensuring every engagement maximized efficiency, minimized unnecessary losses, and reinforced the overarching strategic objective of demonstrating humanity's unassailable power. And as humans pushed outward from the capital, they implemented sophisticated occupation strategies, combining rapid deployment of local governance, humanitarian aid, and security measures that won over civilian populations, even as alien military remnants scrambled to mount counterattacks. And every victory revealed a new layer of human ingenuity, whether in the form of advanced cloaking, adaptive energy shields, or intelligent logistics systems that allowed fleets to move faster, strike harder, and coordinate across sectors in ways alien technology could not predict. While the Council's delegates descended into panic, their once proud assemblies fractured by indecision, recrimination, and disbelief at the speed and effectiveness of humanity's campaign, and report of human boarding operations, orbital assaults, and multi-vector strikes spread throughout the galaxy, sowing both terror and awe as species. Long confident in their superiority, realized that Earth's people had not only caught up, but exceeded every expectation, demonstrating creativity, resilience, and tactical brilliance in every maneuver. And as Admiral Brooks directed forces to neutralize remaining Council strongholds, humans displayed the hallmark of their campaign: restraint paired with absolute effectiveness, striking only where necessary, neutralizing threats efficiently, and consolidating control to avoid unnecessary chaos. While simultaneously expanding influence through diplomacy with previously neutral worlds, offering security, infrastructure, and technology that solidified alliances and expanded humanity's reach, and each conquered system became a testament to the humans' ability to combine overwhelming military capability with strategic foresight and moral discipline, turning potential enemies into allies, while alien leaders struggled to comprehend the scope and coordination of a species they had dismissed. For centuries, unable to counter maneuvers that combined tactical genius, real-time adaptability, and a profound understanding of both enemy psychology and battlefield dynamics, and as humanity approached the final orbital fortresses defending the Council's core, the aliens' desperation reached its peak, deploying experimental weapons, extreme defensive formations, and untested strategies in a last-ditch attempt to halt the inevitable. Yet every tactic was anticipated, countered, or rendered irrelevant by the humans' superior planning, coordination, and execution. And as boarding teams penetrated command hubs, disabled critical systems, and turned captured vessels against their former masters, it became evident to the entire galaxy that humanity was a species unlike any seen before, one whose ingenuity, perseverance, and unity allowed them to not merely win battles, but rewrite the rules of interstellar conflict. And across countless worlds, observers documented humanity's unprecedented display of capability. As fleets operated with near-telepathic coordination, civilians found order and protection under human administration, and alien commanders faced a horrifying reality that their previous assumptions about strength, strategy, and dominance were fundamentally flawed. And as the campaign neared its conclusion, Earth's forces prepared to assert final control over the remaining Council territories, demonstrating that human victory was not an act of vengeance, but a carefully orchestrated revelation of capability, a lesson to the galaxy that the species they had dismissed as inconsequential had arrived, unstoppable, disciplined, and resolute, proving that underestimation of humanity was a mistake of catastrophic proportions, one that would echo across generations of civilizations, forever altering the balance of power and ensuring that Earth's place among the stars was secure, respected, and undeniably dominant. With the Council's final defensive systems in disarray, humanity's fleets moved like a single, unstoppable organism, orchestrating strikes across multiple fronts with flawless timing, while Admiral Brooks coordinated from the flagship, ensuring that every ship, every boarding party, and every tactical maneuver worked in perfect harmony. And as humans breached the outer orbital rings of the Council's central planets, alien forces scrambled in confusion, their command structures fragmented, communication networks compromised, and morale collapsing under the relentless onslaught. While on Earth, scientists monitored every engagement in real time, adjusting strategies, deploying innovations, and guiding commanders with unparalleled precision. And as human boarding teams infiltrated command centers, alien leaders realized too late that the species they had dismissed as primitive had anticipated their every move, turning defensive formations against themselves, exploiting weaknesses in ship design, and employing tactics that combined intelligence, creativity, and decisive action in ways no alien commander had ever conceived. And across the galaxy, the fall of each Council stronghold sent shockwaves through allied and neutral civilizations, instilling fear, respect, and a dawning understanding of the true power humanity now wielded. While on the Council's homeworld, panic consumed the delegates as reports of destroyed fleets, breached defenses, and captured command hubs streamed in unrelentingly, forcing them to confront the horrifying reality that their centuries of arrogance and dismissal had produced a nemesis they could not contain. And as humanity secured control over the remaining orbital defenses, liberated allied worlds, and stabilized key systems, the aliens' last hope for a coordinated resistance disintegrated under the weight of human strategy, technological superiority, and operational discipline, while across the fleet, messages of coordination, updates on conquered systems, and strategic recalculations flowed seamlessly, reflecting a level of planning and execution that left even the most advanced alien species struggling to comprehend how a once-dismissed civilization could achieve such comprehensive dominance. And as Admiral Brooks oversaw the final phases of the campaign, deploying specialized units to neutralize remaining threats, secure critical infrastructure, and consolidate control, every officer, soldier, and civilian involved understood the profound significance of their actions, that humanity's campaign was not only a demonstration of military might, but a declaration to the galaxy that underestimation of Earth had been a catastrophic error. And as the last council strongholds fell, alien leaders, generals, and diplomats faced the undeniable truth that humanity had arrived as an indomitable force, reshaping the balance of power, redefining interstellar warfare, and cementing a legacy that would ensure Earth's place in the galaxy for generations, and across conquered systems, human forces implemented governance, security, and infrastructure projects that combine efficiency with fairness, winning over populations, solidify alliances, and establishing the foundation for a new era in which humanity was no longer a minor player, but a dominant, respected, and unassailable civilization. And as Admiral Brooks reviewed the map of Council territories now under human control, he recognized that the centuries of dismissal, mockery, and underestimation by alien powers had forged a species capable of unparalleled achievement, and that humanity's deliberate, precise, and moral approach to conquest had created a legacy that would forever alter the galaxy's perception of Earth, proving that the human race, underestimated for so long, had become a force that no council, fleet, or species could ignore, challenge, or underestimate again. And as the fleets regrouped, repairs were made and systems stabilized, a new era began, one in which humanity's ingenuity, courage, and resilience were respected, feared, and celebrated across the stars, leaving the galaxy to reckon with the irreversible consequences of having dismissed a species whose potential had now been fully realized. As the last echoes of resistance faded across the former Council territories, humanity stood unchallenged at the center of a transformed galaxy, its fleets positioned not in chaos or triumphal disorder, but in deliberate formations that signal control, stability, and absolute readiness. While Admiral Brooks addressed representatives from dozens of species through secure channels, his words calm, measured, and unmistakably firm as he outlined the reality that now governed the stars, that humanity had not sought domination for its own sake, but had been forced into action by centuries of dismissal, manipulation, and condescension, and that the campaign had proven a simple truth the galaxy could no longer deny, that humans were not weak, not primitive, and not expendable, and across council worlds once ruled by arrogance and complacency, new administrations took shape under human oversight, blending local leadership with human strategic frameworks to ensure stability, fairness, and long-term security. While alien populations slowly adjusted to the realization that the species they had mocked now provided order, protection, and opportunity with consistency no council regime had ever delivered. And throughout the galaxy, analysts, historians, and military scholars documented humanity's rise with a mixture of awe and dread, dissecting how a species dismissed for generations had unified, innovated, and executed a campaign so precise and overwhelming that it rendered millennia of alien military doctrine obsolete. And on Earth, celebrations were restrained but deeply meaningful. Leaders emphasizing that humanity's greatest victory was not the defeat of the Council, but the unity and discipline that had carried them to the conflict without losing their moral compass. While fleets rotated into defensive positions, research divisions advanced new technologies, and diplomatic corps established long-term agreements with worlds eager to align with Earth's proven strength and reliability. And as alien leaders who once laughed at humanity now petitioned for treaties, protections, and cooperation, the imbalance of power was unmistakable. The galaxy having learned too late that underestimation had consequences beyond recovery, and as Admiral Brooks concluded his final report, he reflected not on conquest, but on resolve, on the countless individuals whose determination, ingenuity, and sacrifice had carried humanity from dismissed observers to decisive architects of galactic order. And across the stars, a new understanding settled in, passed from world to world and species to species, that humanity was no longer a footnote in interstellar affairs, but a defining force whose presence shaped policy, security, and the future itself, and that the era of mocking Earth, of ignoring its warnings, and of assuming its weakness had ended permanently replaced by a reality in which humans stood as equals or superiors to any civilization they encountered. And as the galaxy adjusted to this irreversible truth, one lesson echoed above all others, remembered by every surviving council member and whispered across countless worlds, that the greatest mistake the galaxy ever made was dismissing humanity. Because once the human fleet arrived, there was no return to the old order, only the enduring certainty that humans had claimed their place among the stars and would never again be underestimated.